When you're a pastor, you are expected to connect with people. And I'd always been good at that. Loving people, helping people, caring for people, listening to people, praying for people. But toward the end, I'd had enough. I didn't want people asking me how I was doing. I didn't want to talk to people. At Calvary Church, we did communion 4 Sundays a year. My first service was communion, so I decided that my last service should be communion. I would serve the elders of the church, who in turn would serve the congregation. And toward the end of serving the elders, I was overcome with emotion. I couldn't stand the thought of walking away from what I loved to do. The last few days, I would walk around with my head down because I didn't want people to stop me. So I was walking by with my head down, noticed a couple coming in, sped up so I wouldn't see them. And that's when JJ said, "Can I talk to you?" This was my office. And that's when he told me he had just been diagnosed with ALS. Oh, wow. Oh, my. Pictures of JJ. Wow. Shortly after he was diagnosed, he bought a new Corvette and decided, I'm going to drive Route 66 to California. And 13 of his friends said, well, if you're going, we're going. So they went out and bought each of them a new Corvette. And he asked me to go with him. His ALS was called bulbar, which meant it affected his speaking. So by the time we went on the cruise, he couldn't speak. So I went along as his spokesman. JJ and I had not met until that Sunday at Calvary. And within a week, because we were pilgrims on the same journey, he became one of my best friends. We would go to a coffee shop. I'd order for him and would sit in silence for 30 minutes, sipping coffee. And in those moments, I had a deep peace, and I think he did as well. What do you say when you show up with someone who is struggling? And the answer is, show up and shut up. When I meet with people, I simply ask them questions and listen, which for me is critical, just listening. Rod and I have been friends 25 years. He ran a restaurant in town where I would often go to eat. And then we hired him here at Calvary. I was at a luncheon 4 or 5 months ago, and he leaned over and whispered to me, "Pray for me. I'm going through a tough time physically. Something's wrong, and I don't know what it is." And the next week, he called me and told me it was ALS. How are you? Good to see you. And I said, "I am so sorry to hear that." Have you thought about quitting your job?
You know, I have. I'm sort of addicted to the work, but I'm not a workaholic. I'm actually lazy, but I'm addicted to work. And I know if I don't have a task for the day, I stay in bed till 11 o'clock, which is so silly. You know, last summer, I could get up and cut the grass, or get on my motorcycle and go for a ride, or take my little sports car out. A number of things I could do. But now there's really nothing to do. I'm pretty much either stuck at home or stuck in my Prius. If I go to work, I can get free soda. And I can make a sandwich, if I want. So, and all my friends are there. It must have been terrible for you to leave.
That was the hardest thing I've ever done. But I wanted to leave before people saw me go downhill. It was very, very hard. Because I love what I did. And leaving it was overwhelming. Which I think you feel the same way.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of being dead. It's the getting dead that bothers me. And I think it bothers Rod. It bothered JJ. The getting dead is not pleasant. But as I walk with JJ, he faced it with courage, dignity, and grace. And I'm hoping I can do the same thing. And I'm hoping to pass that on to Rod. I was at JJ's house when he passed away. After I prayed with JJ, his brother and wife, we went out to wait for the funeral people. And she took me in the office and handed me a piece of paper and said, "Read this." And JJ had willed me his Corvette. I was floored, and he had not told anyone other than his wife he had done it. This is JJ's car. I actually tried to give it to the family, and they refused. They said, "This is what JJ wanted, and you need to take it." I would have gladly given the Corvette back to have JJ still here. If JJ were here, he would say, I encouraged him a whole lot more than he encouraged me. But the truth is, I found great courage in knowing JJ. And yes, I feel an obligation to pass that on to as many people as possible. Well, why don't you make it for a spin?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'll be real careful.
Everyone I meet is on a pilgrimage or a journey. And in the providence of God, our paths cross. And I think they cross so we can mutually encourage each other. In retrospect, the random meeting of JJ was a reminder that God was with me, even on the worst of days.